The Middle East is no stranger to conflict, and the Gaza Strip in particular has been a focal point of violence for decades. However, in a recent diplomatic shift, there appears to be growing momentum for a long-term ceasefire in Gaza, with various regional players signaling their interest in peace talks. The potential for ending hostilities is more tangible than ever before. This article explores the current situation, the key actors involved, and the challenges of pursuing a sustained ceasefire. Recent escalation in Gaza has been the scene of multiple violent confrontations between Israeli forces and Hamas, the militant group governing the territory. The most recent escalation, which began in late 2023, has resulted in significant casualties on both sides, widespread destruction, and heightened international concern. As airstrikes and rocket attacks became a daily occurrence, the humanitarian crisis deepened, leading to calls for an immediate ceasefire from the international community. According to the United Nations, over 2,000 civilians have been killed since the start of the latest round of fighting, while thousands more have been displaced from their homes. Gaza's infrastructure, already fragile due to years of conflict, has suffered severe damage, further threatening the territory's ability to provide basic services to its residents. Regional players note that one of the most promising developments in the search for a long-term ceasefire has been the involvement of key Middle Eastern powers, Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey are taking the lead in mediating between Israel and Hamas, leveraging their influence over both parties to push for negotiations. Egypt's pivotal role. Egypt, historically a major mediator in Gaza ceasefires, has once again emerged as a critical player in this latest effort. Cairo has long maintained a delicate balance in its relationship with Hamas, a Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, while maintaining diplomatic relations with Israel. Egyptian officials have been shuttling between Tel Aviv and Gaza, working to broker a temporary truce that could lay the groundwork for more permanent peace talks. In early discussions, Egypt has proposed a framework that includes a cessation of hostilities, the opening of border crossings for humanitarian aid, and the possibility of broader negotiations involving the Palestinian Authority, led by Mahmoud Abbas. While previous attempts at ceasefires have often collapsed, Egypt's renewed efforts signal a serious commitment to breaking the cycle of violence. Qatar's financial leverage. Qatar has long been a key financial backer of Hamas, providing funds for reconstruction and social services in Gaza. This economic support has given Doha considerable influence over the militant group. In recent weeks, Qatari officials have used this leverage to encourage Hamas to consider a ceasefire, emphasizing the economic and humanitarian benefits that peace could bring to the Gaza Strip. Qatar's diplomatic efforts have been bolstered by its strong relationships with Western nations, particularly the United States, which has praised Doha's role in facilitating peace talks. Qatar's unique position as both a supporter of Hamas and a trusted partner of the West makes it a crucial player in any long-term ceasefire agreement. Turkey's diplomatic ambitions. Turkey, under the leadership of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has also stepped up its involvement in Gaza. Erdogan has positioned himself as a defender of Palestinian rights, frequently condemning Israeli actions in the region. In recent months, Turkish diplomats have been actively engaged in shuttle diplomacy, seeking to bring Hamas to the negotiating table while maintaining dialogue with Israel. Turkey's involvement adds another layer of complexity to the ceasefire negotiations. While Ankara has been critical of Israel's policies, it also recognizes the importance of stability in the region, particularly as it seeks to expand its influence in the Middle East. A successful ceasefire in Gaza could enhance Turkey's standing as a regional power broker. International pressure for a ceasefire beyond the involvement of Middle Eastern powers. There has been growing international pressure for a ceasefire in Gaza. The United States, the European Union, and the United Nations have all called for an end to hostilities, citing the devastating humanitarian toll of the conflict. The role of the United States. As the U.S. has historically played a key role in Israeli-Palestinian peace efforts, and the Biden administration is no exception. Washington has reiterated its support for Israel's right to self-defense but has also expressed concern over the high civilian casualties in Gaza. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been in frequent contact with regional leaders, pushing for a ceasefire while also advocating for renewed peace talks aimed at a two-state solution. While the U.S. remains a staunch ally of Israel, it has also recognized the need for a sustainable solution to the Gaza conflict. In recent weeks, American officials have expressed cautious optimism that the involvement of regional mediators could pave the way for a long-term ceasefire. European Union's diplomatic push. The European Union has also taken an active role in advocating for a ceasefire. European leaders have called for an immediate cessation of hostilities and have offered to provide humanitarian aid to Gaza. The EU's involvement has been largely focused on addressing the humanitarian crisis, but it has also signaled its willingness to support broader peace talks if a ceasefire is achieved. European nations have emphasized the need for a diplomatic solution to the conflict, warning that continued violence will only exacerbate the suffering of civilians and further destabilize the region. The EU's engagement reflects a growing international consensus that the status quo in Gaza is untenable. Challenges to a long-term ceasefire. While the recent diplomatic efforts offer a glimmer of hope, significant challenges remain in achieving a long-term ceasefire in Gaza. The deep-seated mistrust between Israel and Hamas, as well as internal Palestinian divisions, complicate the path to peace. Hamas-Israel mistrust. One of the primary obstacles to a ceasefire is the profound mistrust between Israel and Hamas. Israel views Hamas as a terrorist organization that is committed to its destruction, while Hamas sees Israel as an occupying force responsible for the suffering of the Palestinian people. This fundamental disconnect has made previous ceasefires fragile, often breaking down after short periods of calm. For a ceasefire to hold, both sides will need to make significant concessions. Israel will likely demand an end to rocket attacks and the demilitarization of Gaza, while Hamas will push for the lifting of the Israeli blockade and greater political recognition. Thank you. I'm Amanda with Global News.